Talking to some of the best names in contemporary Christian music. This is the Hope FM Artist Interview.
And welcome to this week's episode of the Artist Interview here on Hope FM. I'm your host, Gordon T, and I'm very pleased to say that we have got a UK artist with us. It's Sarah Teibo. What things do you feel God has planned for you in this coming season? He's obviously talking to you about rest, so you're laying some things down, but what are the things that you're going to be carrying on with, picking up and going forwards in?
Yeah, I mean, right now I've just launched a podcast actually a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Church Unboxed. And interestingly enough, it's talking about Christian culture and church culture. And I've started to see a trend where, even though obviously I'm a worship leader, singer-songwriter, and all of that, being called upon to kind of opine on these kind of topics, which I don't know if that's exactly my calling, but it's starting to become a thing. So it may well be something that could be happening. But I think as far as my music and just the songwriting side of things is concerned, I always just put it in God's hands. I write my plans in pencil and I give God the eraser, and I just ask him, to let his will prevail. Whether or not I'm going to have another album, I think the answer to that would be yes, probably in a couple of years' time. But for now, I'm just looking at, just doing more of worship, going to different, churches. I've got a church tour actually for 2022, and that will be happening. That's thankfully not the area where I've been called to rest. So that will be going ahead. And I've already got some churches that have indicated interest in having me. So that's something that I know would be happening as well.
Now, if there are churches that are going, oh, I would like to have Sarah Teibo come along, how would they connect with you to say, oh, come to our church?
Oh, that's a good question. So you could just email me at music@sarahTeibo.co.uk. That's Sarah with an H, Teibo.co.uk. So music@sarahTeibo.co.uk. Or you could even DM me on Instagram, as some people do, and I'm very responsive.
Great. Okay.
Very responsive. Yeah.
And on Instagram, who are you? Where do people connect with you?
I am Sarah Teibo Music. Sarah Teibo Music on Instagram. I'm quite responsive there as well. And also you could just go on my website, sarahTeibo.co.uk, and fill in the form, and I'll be in touch to organise that for you.
Great. Well, that sounds like something to look forward to for you and the churches that you visit as well.
Yes.
Are you mainly going to be in the London area touring, or is it across the nation?
It's across the nation. About 3 weeks ago, I was in Newcastle, and I was actually supposed to go again to Newcastle on the 30th, but I was serving in church, so I couldn't go. But it's across the nation. I've gone as far up to Scotland. So yeah, and to be fair, if you're listening from abroad, yes, we can come, abroad as well, but it's focusing on the UK for now.
Amazing. Yeah, we do have numbers of listeners abroad. We've got quite a few in Nairobi. So,
wow, that's really cool.
It is cool. We in the system here, we can see where people are listening online live from, so which is always a nice thing. Can you tell us maybe a slightly funny story as a mum, or something on the road where things haven't quite gone to plan?
Oh yeah. This isn't even a funny one, to be honest. This is a test of my faith. After I had my first daughter, I think about 3 years after, we started trying for a second. And remember I said at the start that I'd been a Christian for pretty much the best part of my life. And so I'd never really I literally do not have a memory of praying for something and not getting it. Not to say my life was rosy, not to say I had millionaire parents, but I'm talking about just my journey with God. I hardly ever prayed for something, maybe because I tried to pray according to his will. I don't know, but yeah. I felt like I was that child who always got what she wanted from God. However, when I got pregnant for my second, what would have been my second baby, about 6 weeks into the pregnancy, I started spotting, which is like a sign of a miscarriage. And I did everything humanly possible, even Christianly possible. So I prayed, I laid my hands on the tummy, I spoke in tongues, I used anointing oil. My faith was, like at 1,000,000% that this child was going to stay. But unfortunately, we lost the baby. This happened around a Christmas time. It was like around a December-ish time. And at the time I was, this was before I started going to King's, and I was leading the worship team for the end of year activities, basically. And there was a song that we were singing in that season, which I was called to lead. Now, this was all happening whilst the essence of life was leaving my body. Like literally, I was in pain physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I was busy questioning God in my head. Why would you give me a blessing and take it? I was angry at God. I was in a state of depression. Just everything was just going down a bottomless pit, literally. And I was called to sing a song that says, "Wow, what an awesome God you are. Wow, what an awesome God you are. Wow, we are wonderfully made. Wow, when I think about your goodness, I get speechless." In the midst of that, I was singing it so powerfully that the pastor asked us to come back and sing it again. But I was not in that place. I was busy asking God why. I was singing wow, but I was asking why.
Yeah.
Right. And this is something I always say to people. Sometimes we look at people on the stage, we don't know what they're really struggling with, whether they're in the worship team or even the pastor. They are humans going through just like we are, but they're pushing through as well. But I did all of that, and then it was such a powerful song that the following year, because this was all happening in the December kind of period, that was almost like the theme song for the year. Especially if it was offering time, then the pastor would go wow time. The pastor would say offering time, and the church would go wow time, because of that, how powerful that ministration of that song was. And but I just cried to God. I didn't get the answers I wanted. I was angry and everything. A few months after, we tried again for a baby, conceived. Around the same time, 6 to 7 weeks into the pregnancy, I had the exact same symptoms: bleeding, spotting. This time we even went to the pastor's house, did everything you could do, ticked all the boxes off. Unfortunately, this was starting to be Easter now, but unfortunately lost the baby. And we were doing an Easter convention, which I so happened to be coordinating the choir. And this time we actually even had an Easter play. And I remember I wrote the play, it was like a musical. So we had like music and acting and everything. And I held it together because I wasn't there at all. Held it together to just finish that performance. We actually also sang Wow, which is God has a sense of humor. Whilst that was happening again, I was busy singing Wow, what an awesome God you are. And once that performance was over, I couldn't hold it any longer. Ran off the stage, went into a back room, one of the kids' rooms in the back of church, and I just broke down crying. And one of my friends actually was walking past, and she saw me, and she just came to me, and I love what she did. She didn't speak, she just held me. She didn't ask me anything, she didn't say anything, she just held me, and I just cried. And I think I eventually got to tell her what it was, but that was a very dark season for me, because I'd never ever prayed for something and not got the answer. So I was like, what is going on? And I remember when I eventually, and I couldn't pray. That was the thing. I was just angry at God for taking two, in my mind, taking two babies from me. Why would you give me these babies twice and take them away? And then God actually then spoke to me, and he's so gracious, I have to say. He comes to us even when we have no faith, when we've completely lost it, when we're not even listening. Somehow he still comes. It's just like, when Paul, at the time Saul, was persecuting the church, he wasn't looking for God, but God came to him, which is a miracle if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so in my state of despair, depression, and doubt and anger, somehow he spoke to me, and he said to me, my faith in him is not supposed to be like a remote control. These are literally what I heard in my spirit, with which I tell him what to do, when to do, and how to do it, but an unshaken resolve to trust him no matter how things turn out. And as soon as I heard that in my spirit, I was like, okay, I think I get it. It wasn't easy, but I was like, okay, if this is what you're trying to teach me, Lord, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Let's go. And I picked myself up, and some months after, I got pregnant again, and I had the same symptoms around the same time, the spotting and what have you. And this time I just said, you know what? I just put my hands up. I said, Lord, I just put it in your hands. Whatever happens, you take control, you take the glory. If you never bless me with another child again, I'm yours. And I just left. I didn't pray. I didn't do anything like I normally do. I put it in God's hands and I walked away. And that child is going to be 9 next March.
You've been watching The Artist Interview. For the full podcast, click the links below or visit hopefm.com/The Artist Interview.